Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our How To Corner. In today's episode, we're going to talk about consistency, the hidden key to being successful. I'm Will Gray. And before we get started, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think about the content and any information you want us to discuss or talk about. Please leave in the comments, and we'll be sure to discuss it. And with that being said, let's get going. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about what is consistency, why is consistency important, areas where consistency matters, downside of being consistent, and then how to build consistency. What is consistency? Consistency for me, in my opinion, is showing up and performing with discipline regardless of mood or circumstance. A lot of times, the fact of being consistent is so hard because people have to have something that drives them to do what they're doing or be motivated to do what they're doing. And that commitment is basically what drives your success. So it's very hard to stay committed when you're not getting certain validations for it, or you don't feel good, or you may be a little tired, or you don't have the motivation to do so. So examples of that is training, being consistent with going and training, and as well as with your nutrition, recovery, mindset, business, school, anything that you're doing. Now, why consistency matters? The reason consistency matters is because it's going to build your long term results. Doesn't matter how much you do in a short period of time. The thing that carries you long term is how much you do over a long period of time. And this enhances skill development as well as things that you're trying to increase more of. Here we wrote muscle memory. Muscle memory for me is more of the brain. I do it enough as what my brain is accustomed to doing it as I keep doing it. And then in a workout standpoint or trying to be better as an athlete, the skill development and muscle memory also ties into this. Now, we're going to use sports as an example to be able to tie back into real world because a lot of our actual crowd is they're athletes of some kind. When you're trying to be consistent and why it matters because you build trust with your teammates, your coaches, as well as yourself, and then you reduce your possibility of injury due to the fact that you're doing the same task so many times to making sure that you're getting everything correct, that you can be able to do this task without even thinking about it. And as a result of being consistent in doing that, that helps you to be able to avoid some injuries or trying to do something you don't normally do the wrong way. Now, let's talk about where consistency counts. Now, how do you do one thing is how you do everything. That's a particular statement that everyone makes. I look at the statement and say how I do one thing is not necessarily how I do another thing. There are different levels of consistency and different ways you should do consistency. Be consistent. I'm sorry. And training, nutrition, sleep and recovery, mental toughness, those are all different ways. I'm not going to dive in too deep into those because we've heard those enough about how you need to train and why that training is important when it comes to your consistency and so on and so forth. One thing I want to dive into though is not just that piece of where consistency counts, but I want to talk about it in the form of consistency matters when no one's looking. It matters when no one's looking. So when you're trying to be more, how can I say this, noticeable in what you do in front of everyone, you have to do it when no one is paying attention. And that consistency leads to the success that you're trying to actually get to. Now, obstacles to consistency. Sometimes with being consistent, like I said, you lose motivation, you get burnt out, you have things that are going on around you with your friends, family that can distract you, as well as things on social media. So you're about doing great. Sometimes that can make you not have a true visual representation of yourself. So you see them having all these great results and you're not. And then lack of clear goals, right? As well as just injury. Injury can happen, illness can happen, and those can put you back a lot because what you're dependent upon to maintain consistency is being healthy also in mind, body, as well as spirit. Now, how to build consistency. There's many ways you can do this. We believe that if you set specific measurable goals, small goals, create a routine, stick to it, track your progress, stay disciplined, and celebrate all your wins, that's a way to be able to be consistent because what you're doing within that, you're making things not seem so hard to accomplish or so big or so vast. And as a result of having that key in there, you're able to build a consistency because you're not really focusing on the end. You're really focusing on every step in the process, and you're staying locked into that process. And that helps build to the thing you're trying to get to, which is your goal, your result, the outward thing that you tend to put out in the world so people can see and basically validate. Now, we're going to talk about Kobe for a while. I wanted to use a real world example here. And the reason I wanted to use him is because I think that people use him a lot now since he's passed. But when he was doing it, people did not use him. Honestly, Kobe was not revered like that. A lot of people did not like him. People respected him, but it wasn't a love or a like there from everybody because of who Kobe was as a person. He was unapologetic, and sometimes that is hard for people to adjust to. Right now, Kobe Bryant embodied what it meant to be consistent. If you really want to break down him as a player, before he became who he was, Kobe really didn't have all the things that an NBA player would be made of, as far as like the immense athleticism, all the polished things about his game. He didn't have the biggest frame. He didn't have the quick twitch. But the one thing he had was wanting to work and know how to get to where he wanted to get to. So the difference in him, in my opinion, was the fact that he maximized every opportunity he could maximize in order to be able to max out his full physical being and mental self to be able to overcome a lot of things. So his mind was his biggest weapon. And by having a strong mind and being able to be strong willed, he was able to actually do a lot of things that his body physically should not have been able to do. But with his work ethic and his ability to be able to break down his process and explain to people how he did what he did, he got to a place that a lot of people probably wouldn't have gotten to if they had his same circumstance. The one thing he did have going for him, his dad was a pro. And at the end of the day, he had access to certain locker rooms and that helped, but he was a listener. He asked questions, he stole things from guys who were willing to tell him stuff, and he used it against them or he used it to help himself. So there's a lot of things about him that make people respect him. I wasn't a big Kobe Bryant fan when he was actually playing, but I really respected what he did as an actual player when he was playing, because you have to have a true appreciation for somebody who is going all the way out trying to be the best version of themselves. So it doesn't matter what you think about them, what you see is what's super important. So he, I think, is the face of consistency in the world of basketball now. And it's a shame that it took him passing away for people to really celebrate him and who he was. But I get it. That Mamba mentality wasn't always a thing people talked about and wanted. It just sounds great now because it's a way to be able to have an ode to Kobe, and I respect that too. So if you're ever looking for consistency or growth or work ethic or someone who can show you or showed what it really takes to get to a certain place, not just in basketball, but just in life, he's a great example of that. And with that being said, thank you for everyone who made to this particular point in our talk. We really appreciate you. Thank you for pressing play. If you have any questions, you can definitely follow us on all our platforms and send us questions there. You can also go to our website and go to the contact page and send us an actual question there, and we'll be willing to get back with you. And we really hope that everything that we said today that you could use, and if you can, maybe you can share it with somebody who could. And with that being said, I hope you have a blessed one. We'll catch you in the next one.